There's a horror story every cloud beginner eventually hears. Someone spins up some resources, forgets about them, and gets a surprise bill for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The cloud is incredible, but it will absolutely charge you for every idle thing you leave running. The good news? Cost on AWS is almost entirely controllable once you understand a handful of levers. So in this deep dive, we'll make cloud cost make sense, with pictures, the pricing models, the free tier, how to SCE your spend, budgets and alarms, right sizing, reserved and spot, storage tiers, and the sneaky hidden costs. By the end, you'll know exactly how to keep your bill small and never be surprised again. Start with the core mindset because it flips how you think about cost. With your own servers, you pay a huge amount upfront whether you use them or not. In the cloud you rent, you pay only for what you actually use, by the second or by the gigabyte. And when you switch something off, you stop paying for it. That's the whole game. It means an idle server is pure waste. You're paying rent on an empty room. And it means the number one cost optimization habit is simply this: don't leave things running that you're not using. Everything else we cover is just a sharper version of that one idea. AWS really has 4 ways to pay, and knowing them is half of cost control. 1. On demand, full price, pay by the second, no commitment, flexible, but the most expensive per hour. 2. Savings plans and reserved. You commit to roughly steady usage for 1 or 3 years and save up to about 72%. 3. Spot. You rent AWS's spare capacity for up to 90% off, with the catch that it can be reclaimed on short notice. And 4. The free tier, a genuine no-cost allowance for learning in small projects. The skill is matching each workload to the cheapest model it can safely tolerate. Let's talk about the free tier, because it's how you learn AWS without spending a rupee or a cent. It comes in 3 flavors. Some services are free for 12 months from sign-up, like a small TD microserver for 750 hours a month, and 5 GB of S3 storage. Some are always free up to a limit, like 1 million Lambda requests every month, forever. And some offer short free trials. The one trap to respect: the free tier has limits, and if you blow past them, leave too many servers on, store too much, you start getting charged. So use it to learn freely, but always set up the billing alarms we're about to cover. Here's the rule that underpins everything. You cannot cut a cost you cannot see. So the very first thing to switch on is visibility. AWS Cost Explorer gives you a clear dashboard of where your money is going, broken down by service, so you can instantly see that, say, storage or data transfer is eating your bill. Even better, you tag your resources, little labels like project or team, so you can slice the bill by who or what is spending. Most shocking bills come from something running quietly that nobody was watching. Open Cost Explorer regularly, find the biggest bar on the chart, and ask, do we actually need that? That single habit catches most waste. Seeing the bill after the fact is good, but getting warned before it explodes is better, and that's AWS budgets. You set a monthly budget, say a spending limit you're comfortable with, and AWS automatically emails or texts you the moment your actual or even your forecast spend crosses a threshold you pick, like 80% of that limit. This is your smoke alarm. It's the single most important thing to set up on a brand new account, because it turns a runaway $1,000 surprise into a friendly heads up at $50. If you do only one thing after this video, create a budget with an alert. It takes 2 minutes, and it has saved people fortunes. Now, the biggest source of quiet waste: oversized resources. Beginners reflexively pick a big, powerful server to be safe, and then it sits at 5% usage, costing full price for capacity nobody touches. The fix is right-sizing. Match the machine to the actual workload. Check the metrics, and if a server is barely breaking a sweat, drop it to a smaller, cheaper instance type. The cloud lets you change size in minutes. The same goes for over-provisioned databases and disks. Right-sizing is often the single fastest way to cut a bill, sometimes in half, with zero impact on your users because you are simply paying for headroom you never used. Closely related, and almost free money: turn things off when you're not using them. Development and test environments do not need to run nights and weekends. Schedule them to shut down after hours, and you can cut their cost by 60 or 70% overnight. And for production, lean on autoscaling. It adds servers when traffic is high and removes them when it's quiet, so you're paying for the load you actually have minute to minute, not for your worst-case peak around the clock. Idle is the enemy. Every resource should either be doing useful work or be switched off. A running server at 3 a.m. serving nobody is just money on fire. For the workloads that genuinely DO run all the time, stop paying on-demand prices for them, commit and save. If you know you'll keep a baseline of servers or a database running for the next year or more, a savings plan or a reserved instance gives you up to roughly 72% off in exchange for that commitment. Think of it like the difference between a month-to-month rental and signing a lease. You trade a little flexibility for a big discount. The smart pattern most companies use: cover your steady, predictable baseline with savings plans, and let the spiky, unpredictable part run on demand on top. Best of both worlds. And for work that can handle interruption, Spot is the cheapest compute on the planet, up to 90% off on demand. The deal is simple. You're renting AWS's spare capacity, and AWS can take it back with about 2 minutes warning when it needs it. That sounds scary, but for the right jobs, it's a gold mine. Batch processing, data crunching, rendering, big test runs, and any fault-tolerant fleet that can lose a node and just keep going. You would never run your main database on Spot, but for the heavy, restartable background work, Spot can turn a huge compute bill into a tiny one. Match the discount to the risk the workload can absorb. Storage has its own easy wins, and they come from tiering. Not all data deserves premium, instant access storage. S3 Standard runs a bit over 2 cents per gigabyte a month. Glacier Deep Archive is around 1/10 of a cent. That's more than a 20 times difference. So old data nobody touches should not sit in Standard. You write a lifecycle rule, one small policy, and AWS automatically slides aging data down into cheaper and cheaper tiers, and eventually deletes it if you like. Same idea for disks, delete the unattached volumes and forgotten snapshots that quietly pile up. Match how cold the data is to how cheap the shelf is. Now the sneaky costs that ambush people, so you can dodge them. First, data transfer. Moving data into AWS is usually free, but moving it ODT to the internet, egress, costs around 9 cents a gigabyte, and at scale that adds up fast, so keep chatty services in the same region. Second, idle resources you forgot, an unused load balancer, an old NAT gateway, an unattached IP address, all quietly billing. Third, oversized everything, which we covered. And fourth, untagged resources you can't even attribute. The pattern is always the same. The cloud charges for what exists, not just what you use heavily. So hunt down and kill anything that's switched on, but doing data. Let's turn it into a checklist you can run today. 1. Set a budget with an alert your smoke alarm, first thing. 2. Open Cost Explorer and find your biggest cost. 3. Right-size anything that's barely used. 4. Switch off or schedule idle dev and test resources. 5. Cover steady workloads with savings plans and use Spot for interruptible jobs. 6. Add S3 lifecycle rules and delete orphan disks and snapshots. And 7. Tag everything and watch your data transfer out. Work down that list and most bills drop dramatically, usually without touching anything your users ever see. Cost optimization isn't about being cheap, it's about not paying for waste. Let's make it concrete with PhotoApp. Imagine its bill is $2,000 a month and climbing. We open Cost Explorer. The web servers were oversized, so right-sizing them down saves a few hundred. They run 24/7, so a savings plan on that baseline cuts it further. The nightly image processing batch moves to Spot, 90% off that chunk. 10 terabytes of old photos slide from S3 Standard into Glacier with one lifecycle rule, dropping that line from over $200 to about 10. And a forgotten load balancer gets deleted. Same app, same performance, the bill lands closer to 800. Nothing clever, just the levers, pulled deliberately. Let's bring it together. Cloud cost is controllable because you rent, not own, so the prime directive is never pay for idle. See your spend with Cost Explorer and put a budget alarm on it before anything else. Then pull the levers, right-size oversized resources, switch off or auto-scale the idle ones, commit to savings plans for steady work, and Spot for interruptible work. Tier your storage with lifecycle rules, and hunt the hidden costs like data egress and forgotten resources. There's no magic, just a handful of habits that, run regularly, keep your bill a fraction of what most beginners accidentally pay. And that is AWS cost optimization, sorted. Not a mystery, just a set of levers, rent don't own, see your spend, alarm on your budget, right size, switch off idle, commit for discounts, tier your storage, and kill the hidden waste. Build those habits and the cloud stays astonishingly cheap for what it gives you. If cost finally makes sense now, do me a favor and subscribe to Beyond Cloud. The whole point of this channel is taking the scary parts of AWS and making them simple, with pictures. Tell me in the comments which service you want next, and I'll see you in the comments which service you want next, and I'll see you in the next one.